the home counties are hiding a dark secret. A growing number of people forced to sleep rough.
I think there's going to be a real rough sleeping crisis in Britain.
I saw this thing and I thought shelter, and I thought to myself, oh God.
Didn't think it happened to me, but it can happen to anybody.
I just felt like my whole world had just crashed, really.
People tend to think of rough sleepers as drunks maybe, or addicts. But like the people we've just met, those without a roof over their head are just as likely to have had a home, a stable job and a normal life. And in increasing numbers they're found in places like here, in Chichester. Pretty, prosperous, quiet home counties towns.
I think definitely over the last 4 years we've seen an increase of about 20% each year. And in the last 12 months we've registered a total of 179 people. Now sometimes they're transient, so they're just passing through our area. Other times they're here and we have to work to resettle them. But 179 people is a lot for somewhere like Chichester, you know, the cathedral city, the cobbled streets.
New government figures show that this rise is felt across the home counties. Take High Wycombe, for instance.
Well, we're seeing 250 people last year, and that is increasing. Our drop-in rates are slowly climbing. The other statistic that we have is obviously the winter night shelter referrals. We had 92 referrals this year, which is up on 76 referrals from last year. And that in itself, I think, speaks volumes.
The underlying reasons for rough sleeping are many.
There's a massive number of reasons people sleep rough, and the most common combination I've come across personally is people who have had a traumatic event such as a bereavement and then another one on top of it, say for example a spouse leaving them. Now the two are probably connected, but these two events are enough as often as not to push people into homelessness and just walking away.
Financial issues are huge. People getting into debt or finding that they're being evicted from a short-hold tenancy because they can't pay their rent. Relationship breakdown are the two key things, I think, that are causing the increase at the moment. All the time, there's always people coming out of institutions.
The saying goes, you're only ever 2 paychecks away from sleeping on the streets. And that was Mark's experience.
Basically, I was a very successful person. I did run a fish and chip shop and so forth. And then basically once my marriage broke down and everything else, things sort of spiraled out of proportion, as you say, speak. Things went a little bit down, and of course I had to leave the matrimony home, and I found myself obviously in this situation that I was homeless.
So I had a job. I ended up tearing all my muscles in the top of the leg and trapping an sciatic nerve, which took quite a long time to get over that. And then I got made redundant, which means I couldn't pay mortgage or anything like that, and I struggled, and I got my house repossessed and ended up homeless that way.
On the first night was the worst because it was really cold and I was scared and I didn't know where to turn to, and I just felt, well, just very alone really. For me it's just been a bit of a tough lesson in life really, just how close you can be to everything, you know, dramatically changing, so yeah.
Experiences like Danielle's are becoming more and more common. But while the problem becomes more apparent here, as you move further north in England, figures for rough sleepers remain much, much lower. This new rise is hitting southern areas the most, especially here in the home counties. But why?
There could be climatic reasons, that it's slightly warmer. There could be people going to a perception of wealth, people responding to a rumour of work, people responding to advice from other rough sleepers. People might go because they want to be safe, and if they know they're going to be on the streets, they might think they're safer in somewhere like Chichester.
Nationally, over the past year, rough sleeping has increased by 23%, but the South East has seen a much more dramatic rise of 38%. From 2010 to 2011, the number of people sleeping rough in the South East grew by 120. If the number went up again by just half that, by next year there would be 490 people on the streets, and by 2017 there could be as many as 730. All the experts suggest that housing is one of the biggest factors behind this rise. The amount of available accommodation just isn't keeping up with demand, so people are finding that rents are becoming too expensive, and councils just don't have the resources to house them.
In places like the southeast, trying to access an affordable house is very, very, very difficult. At the moment, what you have is high house prices in some areas in the southeast. There are hundreds of thousands of people on council waiting lists.
We have a waiting list in the Chichester area of around 5,000 people for social housing, and I don't think that's unique to Chichester. I think actually most local authorities will have that level of need.
There's a critical need for affordable housing in the home counties to stop the rough sleeping problem getting worse. So why aren't more houses being built?
Well, the government will argue that the first thing they must do is get the economy on its feet, and worrying about housing and these other matters is a secondary thing. They do, however, the Housing Minister Grant Shapps is very clear that we need to build a lot more houses. They're on to the case. And they're doing some things, in my view, not enough.
We have an historic undersupply problem, but we're taking real action to solve it. Building 170,000 new affordable homes is a great achievement, and I'm sure this government will achieve it.
Roughly speaking, at the moment we're building about 115,000 homes a year across the whole of the country. We need to be building something like 230,000, perhaps rather more, homes a year.
Unless people admit there's a problem and take action, the outlook for rough sleeping in the home counties is dismal.
I am really, really concerned about the extent to which rough sleeping is going to increase, because I just can't see. I know why people sleep rough, and I know it's about restricted access, and I don't see anything that is going to make that any better. So I think there's going to be a really dramatic increase in rough sleeping.